and there's no power here. There's not going to be power here for weeks on end. And the people that are still living here that can't leave, they're going to need generators. Their cars are empty. They can't drive the 50 minutes that it takes, the hour that it takes to get somewhere with fuel. And one of the greatest organizations that we've been partnering with since the Bahamas last year is the Fuel Relief Fund. Ted, tell us a little bit about what y'all do and the impact that it makes on these communities.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are having a good day. It is Monday, September 13th. You know, over the last several months, we've done a lot of talking about Josh Duggar and all of this chaos that's ensued around him. But something that we don't talk about enough is kind of some of the shadiness that happens around the family with some of their organizations that they're involved in, and some of the nonprofits and LLCs that sort of pop up around the Duggars. Now, one company that we've talked about before is this nonprofit that John David Duggar, is a member of, or the chief operating officer of, or the executive officer of, called Corp. So the organization has been posting quite a bit in the last few weeks because they were out in Haiti after there was a massive earthquake, and then they were actually just down in Louisiana doing some disaster relief related to the hurricane. According to their website, they have served seven countries. They've treated over 10,000 patients, and they've responded to over 15 major disasters. So it's apparently a organization that offers a response team. So it says that our organization began as a response team to the devastating Super Typhoon Yolanda in the Philippines in 2013. We supported local medical relief efforts during one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded. We quickly realized that our significant emergency medical care during this time of catastrophic disaster and the need for everyday emergency response systems. In 2017, we began deploying aircraft and cross-trained responders to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the event proved aviation to be one of our key assets. In March 2018, we began a partnership with BRTTH, or Bickel Regional Training and Teaching Hospital, along with the regional government. This ongoing project began to work to develop the Philippines' first advanced 911 system and emergency trauma center modeled after the United States. Our goal is for this to be a pilot program to be duplicated throughout developing countries around the world. We now are a 501c3 nonprofit based in Northwest Arkansas. Since our initial trip, Corp has grown from a small group of U.S. first responders to a worldwide team of specialists. According to the website, they have doctors, nurses, paramedics, EMTs, and John David is listed as the director of business, and then they do have some doctors on here, and apparently they go all around, but they have two goals, which is the emergency response team. So they're a group of professionals and first responders that take on dozens of mass casualty disasters, and then they also have one goal, which is to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ. So at times of crisis, people need more than just emergency care. They need hope and support and to rebuild their lives. So while they have been doing some stuff, and this all sounds great, and it all sounds wonderful, and it all sounds normal, and it all sounds wonderful, I wanted to take a look to see, what are the, what does the overall business or the nonprofit look like? What are they spending their money on? What is the overall income coming in, and do they file, and what is their nonprofit status and all of that? Because for a while they weren't even actually a nonprofit. They had applied for it but had not received it. And it's interesting because they claim that they've been around since 2013, but their nonprofit status obviously has only been since 2018. But what's odd here is that as I was doing some research, because I saw all of their efforts going, and I've seen all of these massive pushes for donations, I actually went to the IRS website and I noticed that they actually have not filed any tax forms with the IRS for 2020. So every May, there's a requirement for charitable nonprofits to file what's called a 990. So every year, charities or nonprofits are required by the IRS to file what's called a 990, 990 Easy, 990 PF, or 990T. And they would have it provides organization information, and then it's supposed to be like a breakdown of all of their costs and all of their expenses, and then all of the charity money that comes in. And it's a good way for people that have, because it's they're not receiving they don't have to pay taxes on anything. So it's sort of like a transparency thing where people that donate can actually check on this company and see, or this organization, and see, okay, how much money did they get in and how much did they take out, and what percentage of money is actually going into the products or the services, let's just say, that they're saying to offer. So they're claiming to be a part of this organization in the United States, and that they are going to disaster relief, and their mission is to help people in disasters. Well, when I went onto their IRS website, the last copy of a 990 that they had filed was in 2019, and they have not filed anything for the 2020 that I can see as of yet. They might have asked for an extension, but it would have been due on May 15th. And when a copy of the 990 is filed, then the IRS will load it, and then you can actually access what was on their taxes for that year for transparency purposes. Now, just because they haven't filed doesn't mean they have had their nonprofit or their non-exempt status removed. It only happens if they go 3 years in a row without filing the 990 or 990 Easy or those different forms I stated. But on their 2019 one, I noticed something kind of odd. They brought in around $23,000 in their overall charitable gifts that year, and they only spent like $10,000 on efforts, and the efforts were in the Bahamas. So they have these satellites that are apparently all over the country, right? All over the world. The Philippines, if you remember, Lawson Bates was promoting something for that little girl, Esther, in the Philippines. Well, according to their 2019 filing, all the money that they spent for the entire year was in the Bahamas. And the expenses that they listed were for travel, fundraising, franchise taxes, and then for relief effort funds in the Bahamas. So of the amount of money that they brought in, they say that they spent $9,100, $9,169 on the Bahamas relief effort. They spent $700 of that, $700 on fundraising, which they claim is to cover the costs of the fee transactions on Facebook or paying through PayPal. So if you used a credit card and they had to deduct money from you, they actually said that that was an expense that they had to pay for the nonprofit. They also said that their franchise tax was $186, and their explanation for their fees is as follows, which I thought was kind of weird. But again, their largest expense, they say, is for relief funds that were supposed to go to the Bahamas after a hurricane, which they say they spent $9,100 on. So $9,169, they actually have that listed as travel. And then fundraising is $764 and $186 for the franchise tax. So it says that travel expenses for purpose of providing assistance to hurricane damaged areas in the Bahamas, providing emergency transportation for injured and needy, fundraising expenses were for the costs associated with receiving payments through PayPal, and franchise taxes incurred due to the corporate registration at the state level. Okay, so Overall, for the year, they spent like $10,100 on all of their expenses, and they brought in like a total of $23,000. So according to their 990 EZ that they filed, they took in a total amount of contributions of $23,868, $10,119 on expenses, leaving them with a net balance in 2019 of $13,749. They apparently have no expenses for rent. No one that works there makes any money, and they don't have any other like storing expenses, nothing. They just had net assets at the end of the year at over 13,000. If you divide the amount of money that they took in versus how much they spent on expenses, it means that 42% of their money that they took in went towards program and expense costs of their program. 42 cents on the dollar of money that was contributed to them actually went into the services in which they provide, which for a charity is not a great number. And it's not clear why they don't have any expenses for storage, for where any of their planes are, for their equipment that they use. It's just a very odd statement. And the way that they broke down all of what they spent, it was just so like X this, X that, no breakdowns, nothing. Very like, it was a very, when you look at this kind of tax return, this kind of return, it was very blank, very blank. So then I noticed that they hadn't filed anything for this year, which according to the IRS was actually due on May 15th. So once I looked at that, and then again, you can have 3 years in a row of this and before you lose your tax exempt status. So for the whole year of 2020, there's nothing on file with the IRS for them. And I checked other charities for this year, and they did already have the 990s listed for those for the year 2020. With that being said, then I checked with the state of Arkansas because that's where they're registered, because it's twofold. Not only do you have to be registered with the IRS to have the nonprofit, but then you also have to be registered in the state in which your nonprofit exists. And according to their own website, they are registered in the state of Arkansas. And when I went to the state of Arkansas's website, I noticed for their current nonprofit is listed as not current, meaning they have unlikely to have updated their documents. So if you go to the actual requirements for the state of Arkansas, it says that Act 569 of 2007 requires nonprofit corporations to file an annual report with the Secretary of State by August 1st of each year. For the fastest service, choose to file online by clicking online link and proceed to file electronically. There is no charge to file any nonprofit annual report if your filing type is not available online, and if you prefer mail or deliver filing, click PDF to print a copy, complete the form, and mail or deliver business, blah, blah, blah. So the year before, they paid a franchise tax while they were waiting for their nonprofit status. Now they're actually a nonprofit, and according to requirements, they have not yet filed their annual report, and because of that, they're not current. So they don't have anything on file for 2020 for taxes. They haven't filed anything with the state of Arkansas, and yet they're online in Haiti and they're in Louisiana and they're raising money. So I don't know if this is like an oversight by the group. I don't know if they have just been so busy with disaster relief stuff, if they've been preoccupied with other things. You know, John is not the only person on there. Kenneth Bates is also a listed officer. They have someone named Jimmy Burns, who is their tax preparer, that easily could have been filing all of these documents, who clearly has not, as it appears, filed any documents. So if you're supporting them, does this mean that they're not legit? Not necessarily. It just means that they haven't filed things yet. So like I said, with the IRS, they give you 3 years of non-filing before they actually pull your revocation. You get 3 consecutive years of not filing anything with the IRS, and then in the terms of the state, you have to be current, and they have yet to currently file that. Now, obviously, it was August 1st only a month ago. Maybe it lapsed. I don't know. Maybe John David is preoccupied with other things and wasn't really thinking about it. He is supposed to be in charge of the business side, so one would have thought he would have been filing these things. So if you're donating to them, it should be still good. I mean, technically it's still a tax write-off, but if you're wondering where your money is going, in 2019, only 42 cents to the dollar went to anything, and we don't really know how it was spent. They just said they went to the Bahamas and helped people after a hurricane. So this year, the money apparently is going to Haiti. They're actively taking donations for Haiti, as well as stuff in the works in Louisiana. And it's really unclear based on how in 1 year they're doing all of this work, and yet they only did one event in Bahamas. So they have this whole nonprofit, and they just did one disaster event in the Bahamas in the whole year. So last year was the COVID, so perhaps they were like not working in 2020. We'll have to wait and see. But do you think this is legitimate? Do you think it's just an oversight? Do you think the stuff with Josh has got John David's head scrambled? Do you think it's just bad business acumen that's preventing this from getting filed? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.